welcome back. We are on the last part of making the wreath. You'll have got to, I'd say, almost all but complete, and you'll see, and you'll probably wonder how you're going to do this piece. Granted, this last piece is actually a little bit fiddly, but we're basically going to join the two sides together. So you'll see you'll have a bit of a gap, a bit of a space, and again, it's all tied in, so it is quite robust now. You can kind of move it and move it back, and that's mainly because you've been using the right technique of the reel wire, and that is wrap it, pull, wrap it, pull. So it's all at the top. I've got a final piece, and with this one, you get an idea that, again, palm of your hand, like a fan. I've just kind of, on my last piece, what I have done this time around is just had a look at the wreath and thought, right, is there anything in particular that would benefit from a last piece, just to join them together? You know, you want to create that sort of texture, height and size. So I think possibly I've got a bit of everything in here. Bracken, berries, a little bit of bay, spruce and eucalyptus. And again, this is the foliage that's used for Deck the Halls. Silent Night has got a slightly different kind of silvery type, tenacious type foliage with it. You'll have the three types, as I explained at the beginning, and there'll always be some additions. I think, you know, the nice thing is to go with, first of all, seasonal, secondly, what matches the design of your wreath. So the last piece, nice big, nice palm size. You are going to your reel wires at the top. Remember, you take the reel wire, as we said before, to you. So what I'll do here, there's my wire bunch. I've just moved this little bit out of the way. I'm going to move it back, and then I'll place. And I'm placing it, I'm not folding out, I'm just going to see when I move that back, does it cover, does it join? It does. So keep that to the side. As you've done all the way round, place your bunch, just covering at the very top, the bottom part of this wire, not too far over, far enough back, and press down. And then, like we said, take your reel wire to you. And this is why it's a bit fiddly now, because you've this time round got foliage coming from the other side, whereas before you haven't. It's all plain moss. So don't fret. You can take it, see that bit of bracken's just come off, and that's fine. That's not going to affect the overall look. So you want to bring the reel wire over. Make sure you're not wiring across any loose bits of foliage. And again, like I said, this bit's just a little bit more fiddly. The last piece is always a tiny bit more time consuming, just to make sure that this time it is more aesthetically pleasing. And again, round you go twice with your reel wire. So pull once, and then again, you might need to just, with this original bunch, just move it to one side a little bit to bring your reel wire round, so that way you're not catching any of the stems, of the offcut of the stems that are here. And again, I'm coming back round and pulling as I come round. So twice and pulled, and again, take it back a bit because you are going to use some of yours. So you can have a look where you've pulled it away and push it round a little bit. Does it look bushy enough? Is it covering the space? Great. So before we take off the reel wire, again, like I said, we're going to check for any gaps. Here, I haven't put a big enough fan, or I've got mine caught. But I think possibly that hides that beautifully. So, I'm going to show you the final piece now. Lift up your wreath. And this is the finished article. And you can see, well, you can see, I can't. You can see you've got a beautiful circle. It's beautifully circular, and that's because you have, as you've bunched and foliaged, you've followed the shape of the circle. And because we've used the palm of our open hand as a fan, we know that we've created enough width to cover the curve of the frame. So, I'm quite happy with that. What we need to do now is take off the wire. We don't want this hanging on. So, in order to do that, similarly to putting it on, how we threaded it between the golden frame, not doing it very well actually, sorry, the other way around, between the golden area on the actual frame, we're going to cut the wire off, and we're going to thread under again a couple of times, and we're going to poke it back into the moss. And that should be tight enough. So, don't don't panic, you're not going to damage anything. Now we need to do what we did at the beginning and sit the wreath on its front. Again, you're not going to damage it, you can fluff it up. And by doing this, you can actually see, you actually get a bit of a view now of the back, because the back should be as pretty as the front, and even though it's not foliage, it shouldn't look like you've caught lots and lots of your foliage as you come round, because you've kept it as a fan, nothing's gone under. So, with your strong scissors, you want probably, again, another palm hand's worth of wire cut, and it's here you're going to go under and through, and as you come under you can pull a little bit. This wire isn't coated, but the wires that will come with your kit, they are like a blackened wire, they are coated. And what you will find, and this is very bizarre that mine aren't, is normally your hands are a little bit grubby. It comes off, it washes off, you can use time in between to wash your hands, but generally wreath making is a bit grubby. It's a sign of a well-made wreath. So yeah, so wrapped it round twice. I might go 3 times for luck. And I'm pulling at each point, and then use the end, poke it straight into the moss frame. And that is that. That's all connected, and now I can lift it up, have another look at it, and fluff it out. And like I said, if we can see any areas, any obvious areas of gap when you look at it, if you can see a sparse area that was just not enough to put another bundle in, what we can do now is some of our slightly thicker, woodier stemmed pieces of foliage. So for example, I think I've got a small piece of bay, and you will have a few extra pieces left. That is nice and woody, that is nice and strong. I'm going to be able to poke it in. This moss frame is damp when it arrives, and over the period of however many weeks you choose to keep it on your door, the moss will naturally dry, and with that the moisture will disappear. So anything that is bound by the reel of wire stays on. Anything that we poke on naturally loosens. So the stronger the stem, the woodier the stem, thicker the stem in some ways, not too thick, so we don't want to take out a chunk of moss when we poke it in. The more chance your luck is that when the moss dries, the foliage still stays put. That said, there will always be a few extra of these moss pins, and you can use them to grip and hold and poke them in. But just for the odd stem, I wouldn't bother. If you maybe put 2 or 3 small bits together, because you just felt that you've taken your reel wire off now, you're not sure if you need anything more, but you do definitely need a bit more foliage, then you can go in and hold it like so. But I'm just going to stick a tiny bit of bay in this one, so I don't need the moss pin. But that's your first kind of troubleshooting area. And I've seen an area at the top here that is just a little sparse, and it's just me being a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm going to go in and just poke it in. And it's there, it's nice, it's fixed. So that is the end of stage 1. This is the time now that I normally say, right, down tools a bit, have a break, have a drink. You will have your festive bakes from Achy Bakey by all means, or if you've done first stage and think, actually, I've run out of time for today, or I'd like to give it a break, or my creative mind is wandering and I'll come back to it. These are hardy, they are meant to be outside. What I would say at this time of year is if you're going to leave it and come back to it another day, or a later period of time in that day, is pop these somewhere outside, so maybe kind of under a bench in the garden or in a porch, so that it's still cool outside, it's not hot, because what will happen is the drying process indoors will happen much quicker. If you leave it indoors at this time of year, we've got our heating on, that's what will happen. So I'm not saying it will dry out to the point that it'll age before you put it out, it's just to give it the best start. If you're going to come back to it, pop it outside. So yeah, so that's the end of stage 1. We're going to move on to stage 2, which is for most the best bit, and that's decorating. So, be back in a moment.